And we are live.
Excellent. Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for spending time taking a look at the document.
I can share it, Kim, if you'd
Oh,
like
that'd be
me to.
great. Yeah, that way I don't have to toggle back and forth. That'd be great.
Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we see a screen that's got your picture on it.
Okay, then that's not right. Okay, sorry about that. That was a fail. Okay, how's that?
Yes, now we can see it. Excellent.
Okay, I'll make it full screen.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Sure.
So big thanks to Blair, who couldn't be here today, for finding all the editing, spaces here and that sort of thing. That was helpful. To already have those marked as I went through the document. And so because Blair spent time doing it ahead of time, I kind of went through and read all of those first and, made a note about agreement or not on certain things, and then tried to make some suggestions. So I did really agree with, if we're going to refer to the statute, like powers and duties, we should put in what they are. That seemed like a, important kind of thing. And so, I did add, if you look at that second comment there, I added the narrative from the statute. I mean, someone can double check me, but I went and just pulled that. That makes sense to me. Then our bylaws are clear about exactly what language,
Okay.
what our actual duties are. That seemed pretty clear. And then do you just want me to do this, kind of go step by step, the kinds of things that we looked at in comments? Chris,
Sure.
okay.
Chris, if you have something you want to add too.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So then the next section 4 goes through officers and duties. If you scroll back up just a little bit. Yeah. So basically it says we've got our chair, vice chair, and secretary, but then really kind of only defines what the chair does. So I did really agree with Blair's initial comments. I'm switching to my copy too, just so I can kind of see. I think that we need to provide some clarity there on each of the officers and what their duties actually are.
It does mention in 412 that the vice chair will preside over the meetings if the chair is not there. I'm not sure what the other roles of the vice chair are.
Well, that was kind of my comment back, Chris. I was like, okay, so if that's the only duty of the vice chair, you take over. But I think there's a mention somewhere else later on. I found it and made a note that says something along the lines of the vice chair helps the chair come up with the agenda. And so if that is the case, then we just want to put that, I think, here and just say chair does this, vice chair does this, secretary does this. I think our secretary, I made a note in here, I tried to find some quotes on definition of a secretary, right? And so ours doesn't do all of the things that a typical secretary does, but certainly helps operations kind of move along by calling attendance for voting, tracking motions. I assume keeping a summary for minutes, but
So,
not.
so
Yeah.
the minutes don't require a summary of what everybody says unless it creates an action. Normally it's the vote itself. So I end up putting the minutes together, but she'll keep track of who makes the motions and who says yay or nay.
Okay. So we could just not have that final phrase, be in that sentence.
Okay.
If we wanted to use something like that, that made sense to me. But I do think it makes sense that we include a sentence for each of the officers, and here's what they do.
Yeah, so to that point, Kim, because DPI one is performing a function that would be under the secretary, do we articulate that in the bylaw that DPI administrative staff will be responsible for creating minutes for the meeting, just to make sure that it's not
Yes.
assumed to be the secretary's role. And then the second point is, we've got provisions for when the chair's out or when the vice chair's out, but in the absence, my understanding is in the absence of the secretary, DPI staff will perform the functions of the secretary.
Yes, that's a really good point. And so later on, I think in 7 standards of comment, you'll see there's a comment from me and I say something along those lines. I think we should put in language that says something like, notice to the chair and NCDPI support staff. So when someone's out, it says they're supposed to let the chair know, but Kim's really involved in that. So I just made a comment about DPI actually handling meeting logistics, and that sort of thing. So I agree. I think we want to add some language that reflects the reality of what we do and that there is a role there that DPI plays, if that makes sense. So where I made that comment was under 7 standards of conduct, sorry, because there's a little section 7.1 is on attendance. So maybe we should make our first note about DPI staff be something along officers. In one of these sections. I think that would make good sense.
That would probably go under 4.1.2, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think that makes good sense. Yes.
Do you want to add that in there, Kim?
Yeah, you want me to add it myself?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me go over to my document. So then, just for clarification's sake, we're going to add a statement for each of the officers. Are we going to do all of this in 4.1.2, or are we going to add in 4.1.1 after the sentence on the leadership consists of, add a sentence for each of the officers?
I think it makes sense there. What do you think, Chris?
I mean, I think it could go either place. I guess my thought would be more along 4.1.2, because 4.1.1 is basically just saying who the leadership will be, and then 4.1.2 is more along the lines of talking about what they're actually going to do.
Okay.
But I think it can go either place.
I'm just making a little note about each officer. And then under 4.1.2, we'll add something about
Who initially created these bylaws? I meant to ask that when we started.
So it was while Van Dempsey was chair,
Yeah.
and so they were put together with him, but also the full commission looked at these, as well as legal here at DPI.
some of the I'm struggling a little bit because I can't see all the comments anymore. I don't know why they're going away. I've reloaded. We'll see if that helps.
Are
Okay.
you still signed in? I couldn't see him until I signed in.
I'm signed in.
Click the
Yeah.
little comment bubble at the top next to share, and they should all reappear for you. Can you see them with me on the screen? Can you see them next to? I'm trying to bring them up.
Yeah, I can see the little
Okay.
faces of each of us, and it shows I'm in my Gmail.
Right. So if it says, if you see the little comment bubble there, when I'm
Mhm.
pointing, it says 55 over it. If you press that, it'll bring them up for you.
There we go.
Yeah, just click on that.
Okay. They were there. It just wasn't all of them. It's really weird. Now more. Now it's all the comments it says. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay.
So I just for make sure I understand, what is the sentence about DPI staff in 4.1.2 that we would need?
We got to figure out what that will say. So that's where I assume this is where we would put what you were saying, and I made a comment about earlier or later on in the document about DPI support staff, something along the lines of what DPI staff does, because Kim's the one who actually, puts together meetings, communication. So I guess the question then becomes, do we add a sentence that says something about DPI staff roles?
And my question would be, does that go in 4.1.2, or should we have a 4.1.4 that talks about what the secretary does? Because you've got the kind of the duties of these folks articulated. I don't know if actually a 4.1.4 would be like well, we've got it down in the agenda. So I think that's fine for the chair and vice chair. It clearly kind of points out this is what the chair does. The vice chair does all these functions in the absence of the chair. But then you've got the secretary. Secretary
Right.
should be responsible for, informing the chair of quorum, taking
Mhm.
Roll call vote.
roll call votes. And then you articulate, in the absence of the secretary, DPI administrative staff will assume the responsibilities of the secretary, something like that.
Yeah,
If
we could definitely do that, but the DPI staff already assume some of the duties of the secretary is kind of what we were talking about.
Oh, right, about the minutes, creating the
Yeah,
minutes.
right. Well, and I'm on other national organizations. I've served as secretary, and there are other duties that are typically included, like running the meetings and some of those kinds of things that we don't do. So I don't know that all of that needs to be spelled out, but
Well, can we make it more general about what DPI does? DPI administrative staff will provide support as needed for Pepsi. I mean, because otherwise we're going to be listing
yeah, right.
a ton of things, unless we want to point out that the minutes specifically are provided by DPI staff. I don't know if you guys want to point just that one thing out or not.
And this doesn't have to go here. I'm just trying to make a sentence.
Sure.
Yeah.
And Tom, is what we're talking about now, what you're saying might need to be 4.1.4?
Yeah, I think it would be and I understand Kim's just writing it here, but
Yeah.
having it in 4.1.2, I don't want to give the impression that in the absence of the chair or the vice chair, that DPI would step into any kind of chair role. We would not do that. And so I want to make it separate in the secretarial responsibilities. DPI would support in the absence, but certainly not in any other case.
Would we, if we're going to do 4.1.4, would we make this 413 and then move 413 down to 414 just because right now what we're typing in 414 kind of goes with 4.1.2, and if that makes any sense, basically just flip flop
Sure.
1.3 and 1.4 right
Mhm.
now.
We
I
can,
see what you're saying.
we can
You're talking
easily do
about-
that.
So 1, 2, and 3 would talk about regular PEPSC meetings, and then 4 gets into the special circumstance of a subcommittee.
Right.
I see the logic of that as well.
Do you guys want to do that? I can easily do that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like,
switch the sentences.
yeah, right now I feel like 2 and 4 go together and 3 is just kind of in the middle, but it's something totally different.
Yeah. I'm also wondering if the sentence about mainly the secretary, if that should go in 412, because 412 really talks about what the chair does. Then it says the vice chair assumes those duties when the chair can't be there. Could we just add a sentence there that says the secretary does blah, blah, blah?
I think that's reasonable.
You
Yeah.
want to add that, Kim?
Yeah.
I think it would be odd if you list the duties of officers and the duties of the secretary are omitted. I think that would be
Yes.
very odd.
Which is what we basically, all of us who make comments, that's really what we said whenever we were reviewing it, that it felt odd. I'm going down because I put a little possible statement. Here we go. Could it just be as basic as this?
Yeah.
Okay.
If Ryan needs to legal it up, we can get him to do that.
Okay, great.
And Blair can have one more look at this before
Mhm.
when he comes back.
So Blair brought up the point about 4. So if we feel good about this, are we okay to start looking at 4.2? Are you guys okay?
I'm good.
I am, yeah.
Okay. So Blair made a comment about 423. It says, once all nominations have been made, the chair shall call a voice vote. If a member of PEPSC calls for a roll call vote, the secretary shall conduct a roll call vote. And I think, the point was basically that we always do a roll call vote. Because we're mostly virtual or mixed, it kind of feels like we really have to do a roll call vote anyway.
Well,
Yeah,
you're not under statutory obligation like the board is, but if it's the will of the commission that for clarity and transparency of process, we want to do a roll call vote for everything, it's certainly within your purview to make that part of your bylaws.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just one of those funny things because I think it's the will of the commission because that's just what we've done,
That's
right?
right.
So, I
Right,
don't
so
feel strongly that we need to change that. It sort of feels like a whatever and it allows either or. Right?
Well, the way this reads to me is that all votes are roll call, are voice votes, unless somebody specifically requests that you do a roll call, which I would flip that and say, once all nominations have been made, the chair shall call a roll call vote. If a member of PEPSC calls for a voice vote, yeah, you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
you're,
maybe it's too early for me. How is a voice vote different from a roll call vote? Because you express your vote with your voice.
yeah, all in favor say
Oh.
aye.
It's all
Right.
at one
Yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah,
You don't go through each name.
yeah. Okay. Well, that would be a nightmare over Zoom.
Right. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, the question, I think the fundamental question for PEPC is, are we doing it this way because it's the will of the current administration?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we doing this because this is the best practice for PEPC?
Right.
And if it's the latter, it should be in your bylaws. If
Right.
it's the former, then leave it alone.
So if we change it to say, once all nominations have been made, the chair shall call a roll call vote. If a member of PEPSC calls for a voice vote, the secretary, or should we not even say that part?
I don't think you should say that part.
Yeah, I don't think you can do a voice vote after you do the roll call vote. It would be
Right.
redundant.
Yeah, I don't, because the point of a roll call vote is if there's any sort of discrepancy or
Right.
anything like that. But if you do a roll call vote, it's clear what everybody voted.
Mhm.
Exactly. I think it's really helpful for the person who's the secretary. You know, it's easy for the rest of us
Right.
to just ignore it when you're doing the eyes, but they've got to record that. So,
Well,
yeah,
and then you can't see who's actually saying what. And normally you list that in the minutes as far as
right.
who says yes or no.
Yeah. So I agree. I think that looks good. We just take that out. I change that right now. And then after, Blair looks again, we're going to send it to the commission to look at, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So other people could come in with comments or whatever.
Now, where this gets a little tedious is where you're doing an adjournment, which is really non-controversial.
Right.
And,
But this is
You're
really
gonna-
for the election part only.
oh, this is for the election.
This says under election of officers,
This
once
is
all
only for the
nominations
election of
have been
officers.
made.
Gotcha.
But
So,
it's what we do on every vote, to Tom's point, is what we do on
Right.
every vote that we ever take, whether it's to adjourn the meeting or,
And
it
we
doesn't
just
matter.
we just do it. It's transparent.
I do think it's because of the fact that like Kim was saying, we're virtual, and I don't know that we would do it this way if we were having face-to-face meetings where everybody was there. I think it would be a little bit different, but I don't know that I see a scenario where Pepsi is ever having every meeting face-to-face with all members there and nobody participating virtually. I just don't think that's going to happen.
As long as we have representation from the West, I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
That's quite a haul for you, Chris, to come in.
it is, especially when there's 4 inches of snow on the ground like there is. It seems like 7-8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Plus to get teachers there in time too. That would
Right.
be tough.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like everything else after that we make comments on are there's an extra space here's kind of thing.
The
What were
the
you-
timing one,
Right,
I
the
don't know.
timing issue of March
Yeah,
up here for 4.2.1. You guys talked
Yes.
about that
Yes. I'm sorry.
specifically.
Yeah.
I think the question was just, well, part of it was how did we determine March was the way to, or was the time that we needed to do that?
I think from what I sort of remember, I think it was decided upon because then you could kind of get that person into the role by March, and then they could already have some meetings under their belt and have some leadership experience and understand Pepsi fully before the
Right.
new round of folks could be coming in.
But here's the
if
thing,
there
there
were
are a
new
bunch of,
people.
yeah, there are a bunch of things going on here. Like you can't be in the role unless you've been on Pepsi for a
Right,
year. So
right.
there's already that. It just seems to me, because there were a bunch of, I thought of several different ways we could do this, and I made comments here, and then later
Mhm.
442 gets at this also. We don't know who's going to be extended, and there's been weird stuff. Like
Right.
I had this weird term where I was 1 year and then now I'm on a 2 year. We just really don't know what's going to happen, which is problematic if, so now I'm qualified. Let's say we had an election and someone nominated me to be chair. Well, I could not be reappointed, and we just don't know these kinds of things. And I feel like if we want to keep the even and odd years, so we have some staggering and not every officer going off and on at the same time, if we simply moved our elections to August, we could still keep the even and odd year. And in August, or if we want to say September, but by then we know who's on it. In theory. I mean, we usually haven't gotten our paper letters, but someone has emailed us or told us, or people generally have an idea by the end of summer.
Right. And then that also prevents us from having new people having to vote for a chair, vice chair, or secretary before they even know them.
That's true. If we do it in August, that would be true. And it's not like we would be voting in any of the new people because they wouldn't be qualified because they hadn't served, right?
Right. Right.
So if we say, I mean, the reality is, I don't know, the 2 year thing is hard because if you get appointed a 2 year term, you have to be on it a year before you can be. We're going to elect someone to serve who may not get reappointed to Pepsi. But I think that's just, I don't know. Chris, what were you going to say?
Well, more of a question, just because how often do people roll off Pepsi um, without asking to roll off Pepsi?
It's very rare.
That's what I thought. I mean, just from in my experience, most people that are on it have been on it until they ask to not be on
Right.
it anymore. Is that right?
Resignation, or they change roles where they don't qualify anymore, and they
Right.
absolutely don't qualify anymore. Because we had Dr. Graham, for example, who started out as a dean, went provost, then went chancellor, interim chancellor. He still stayed on Pepsi. It was until he moved to Arkansas and he requested it. He resigned.
Yeah. Which none of that may matter for what we're talking about. I guess that was just more of a clarification, just because I hadn't
Sure.
seen much turnover.
There's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then could we simplify this and change March to August and see what the commission feels about it?
I think, to me, that sounds like a smart move, for all the reasons that you said just a minute ago.
So then the chair would be in August of even numbered years, vice chair and secretary will be in August of odd numbered years. Okay.
Now, I'm just trying to think about this too, though. How does that, let's just say where we are right now, if somebody nominates Bill Griffin to be the chair because he's currently serving as the vice chair, then would he be able to do that, and then we would elect a new vice chair? Because that would put them on the same cycle, right or wrong? Am I thinking about that
So
wrong?
the person that we would then elect into the vice chair would finish out his term.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Robert's rules would do,
Okay.
right? Like
That makes,
general.
that's right. That's right.
Okay. And it says you can be reelected. It says roll call vote, majority of votes cast. We're not gonna have a runoff, but it's got that sort of comments in here. Let me see other people's. It looks like the rest of that stuff is about spacing. Okay. And then any member who's completed 1 year of service is eligible to hold an officer position. And since what Kim is saying about most people have been reappointed unless they've asked to, we'll just leave that alone.
Okay.
Okay.
Was there something about the other leadership role provisions? Is there an actual difference between the two clauses? Both are situations that become vacant. Was the necessity of labeling this appointment for 4.4 Blair was talking about?
So this sort of says what I said about, Chris's comment about if Bill moved from vice chair to chair. And so it says, yes, if that happens next meeting, you'd vote someone in they'd serve out the remainder of the term. If chair becomes vacant, it says vice chair assumes that until the end of the term.
And then
Do we need to
would
say
also-
other leadership role provision? I think because before we talk about just the chair, right? Okay.
You're still on 441, right?
Yes, where he put for 4.4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 442 talks about chair, vice chair, and secretary.
So,
Okay, and so then it says if somebody's term was not renewed by the General Assembly, we'd hold an election, is what it says at our next scheduled meeting.
do we move that up to the election of officers? Or do we need to keep it 4.4? Is that what Blair's asking here? Because it could fit in with, can it fit in with 4.2?
I mean, I don't think it matters either way, but I'd be fine with adding a 425 and a 426.
Do you guys want to do that? Or do you think it needs to be separated? Because there's also 4.42.
It's
That's the
under-
renewal part.
Yeah.
Vacant renewal.
It's under the heading
Not
of other
renewed.
leadership role provisions.
But what's the other leadership? I think that's what Blair was asking. Like, it's still secretary, chair, and vice chair.
Yeah, and it's still about elections. So what to do if something happens. So I think that'd be just fine.
Yeah.
Add 425
I'll
and
add it down
426. Okay.
Made it huge.
Let's see. And then that will make, I'll change this. That makes the next one 4-4. Department of Public Instruction staff. Serve as staff to, okay, yeah. Oh, thanks, Chris.
You're welcome. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. Yeah,
So then we can take that out, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Those rows. Okay. It's funny, the
I
font
wonder
changed
why.
there.
I wonder why when these bylaws were created by, did you say Van or whoever it was that they decided to do it that way? Because you're right. There's really no other leadership roles in PEPSC besides those three. I don't know.
I mean, sort of the chair of subcommittees, but not really, because it's not really a voted thing. We're just told what committee we're on and
And
Right.
selected and then asked if
Yeah.
you would lead.
Yeah.
so section 5 seems weird to me because we go to all the trouble in 5.1 to say section 5 of these bylaws, blah, 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 but we don't say that in the other sections. You see what I mean? Like we don't define what that is. We just start out with the statements.
Oh, kind of had an intro, you mean?
Yeah,
Do you want to add an intro?
no, to all of them, absolutely not.
Or do you want to take out the intro in 5?
But we could just say, so if we just do this, take this out and say something like, oh God, it's too early to be. The commission will enact, I don't know, subcommittees, working groups, or task force something like that. And then we could say, period, and say something like membership will be appointed by the chair.
That's good.
And then this
What?
said it's from the membership. Other stakeholders could be added. That seems okay.
Why does it say generally subcommittee there? Does that mean just because normally it's a subcommittee and not a working group or a task force?
We always call it subcommittees. Even this one's called a subcommittee,
Yeah.
even though it's more of a working group.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We
Well,
don't really
could
have
take
task
that-
forces either.
We could
but-
take that. I know that feels like super fancy. We could take all of that out and just enact subcommittees. And take
And then take out where it says generally subcommittee too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if we need those other words. We never use them.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I guess if we found ourselves to be doing that a lot, we could add it to the bylaws at a later time. It seems clearer to me to just, that's what we do. Let's just call it subcommittees.
Yeah.
Then literally in 5.2, it only uses the word subcommittees. So,
Mm-hmm. It's true.
and then staff,
When I was looking at this, and I don't know that we necessarily need to take it out, but how many times have we appointed other people outside of Pepsi to a subcommittee to help with anything that we're doing? Maybe we have, and I just don't remember it.
They're not officially part of subcommittees. They might be a group that's helping to advise Pepsi of a subcommittee or the full commission of decisions that could be made, such as when there was a second math subtest being selected, then we had math experts come together
Yeah. Okay.
and figure out tests and review tests and come up with a recommendation that then went to a subcommittee.
Yeah.
But, and those meetings they were actually just DPI staff was talking to them about it.
Mhm.
It wasn't something that was so public
Yeah.
either.
Well, and I think we leave it in there either way, in case the chair decided to form a subcommittee and wanted somebody from the outside to do it. I think that gives them the I guess the discretion to do it. But okay.
Okay. And
So
then-
the first sentence, the commission will enact subcommittees. So that makes it sound like it's an always existing thing. And I guess it is because we have standing subcommittees,
we have
correct?
those
Yes,
three that
we have
always
3
exist.
standing subcommittees.
Uh-huh.
My question, I guess, would be, does that need to be, if that's an ongoing thing, an ongoing regular thing that for licensure, ed prep, and what is the other one? Something about
Assessment and performance.
assessment and performance. Should we articulate those 3 standing meetings, but also provide for the creation of an ad hoc?
Yes,
Because this is what you
we
guys
could say
are right
that.
now.
Because they have not changed. Those 3 names have not changed. For licensure, educator preparation, and assessment and performance.
Just a thought. It doesn't, I mean, we
Mhm.
don't have to do it. But it does seem,
Yeah, I mean, and there could be other work like this work, right? Where,
that's right.
there are other ones. So, I mean, we could,
Well, if you say ad hoc, then you can
Yes.
say that those are the 3 standing, and then other opportunities for ad hoc subcommittees.
yes, I like that.
What were the 3 licensure? Was it assessment and performance?
Yes, and educator preparation.
And then the next sentence could say something along the lines of additional ad hoc subcommittees may be formed. Something like, or there may be opportunities for additional ad hoc subcommittees. Either way.
And don't worry about the formatting, because when I take this from the
Perfect.
Google Doc, I think when I put it in the Google Doc, it messed with the spacing.
Yeah, that happens
Yeah.
to me too.
Mhm.
So Commission on 3 standing subcommittees, licensure, assessment, performance, and educator preparation. Additional ad hoc subcommittees may be created. That looks good to me and is
Now-
much clearer about what we do.
Now, is membership, so then it says membership will be appointed by the chair. Membership to the ad hoc subcommittees will be appointed by the chair. Membership to the 3 standing subcommittees. Do we sign up for that? Didn't we
So-
say what we wanted to be on or no?
So we took preference, but then it was something that was approved by the chair.
Okay,
And then
ultimately
the
chair.
leadership was something that she requested.
okay.
Yeah.
So that sentence is still fine then.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and I think it also depends on when you roll on, because when I rolled on, they were already existing and
So you
Ann
replace
told me which
somebody.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, you replace someone.
Yeah.
And then the new teacher of the year, usually they replace someone too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think 5-1 looks good.
I think it looks better.
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
5-2 goes into subcommittees again.
Mhm.
That's what we were talking about before, but
Right. And then
So-
somebody gets designated a chair. I think that works. And then 5-3, that's basically what we do. That is our practice. So that's good. And staff support. So 5-4 looks good to me.
Mhm.
I don't think we saw any issues in 6 at all.
Mm-mm.
No.
Um,
Oh, here we go. All votes shall be taken by voice vote unless a voting member requests a roll call vote. 6.5.2.
Yeah.
oh, thank you. I hadn't gotten there yet. Yeah. Mhm.
So that's the other place.
Do we just want to leave it at that and take the rest out? Like take all of that out and add vote right there in a period? Isn't that in line with what we said above?
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and then this part about attendance. So what happens with attendance is I send the calendar meeting out, and then everybody either responds on the calendar meeting, yes or no, just like, everybody else does for a calendar invite. Or when I say, hey, let me know if you're coming, I want to make sure I have quorum, then people send me individual emails. So I keep a list of who's coming, who's not,
Right.
make sure we have quorum. So if we're saying it's approved by the chair, the excuse, she understands when people are absent. As far as her keeping track of who's coming, who's not, that's more DPI staff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess if there's an issue and it's not been brought up, you would bring that up with the chair
Mhm.
and have a discussion.
I can say I have in the past, especially when teachers weren't able to come, because we had it in the morning at 9 a.m. We did talk to the chair about that. And so then it ended up being changed eventually to the afternoons, and that's the reason why.
Right.
So on 7.1, Kim, I think we need to highlight that last sentence
Uh-huh.
for Ryan. I don't know, since members are appointed by the General Assembly, if we have
Right.
the authority to remove someone unless conditions for removal are articulated in the statute,
Yeah.
That's a
which I
good
don't think
point.
they are.
No, I've not seen that.
It's funny though, because there must be something somewhere. You know, we get that really lengthy letter when we're appointed. There's something somewhere, because I promise you, I've never looked at the bylaws, but I knew that about the absences. So that we get told that somewhere in some document,
okay.
but
Well,
Oh,
that
I
would
didn't
be
realize that. But I will say that the General Assembly has asked us before if members are attending, and we'll let them know, yes, they are. I mean, a majority of Pepsi members, they take this you guys know, you take it very seriously, regardless if it's volunteer or not. And so people come. I don't have to worry about quorum 9 times out of 10.
yeah. Okay, so I just made a comment that we want legal to take a look.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and Kim, if you have a copy of your appointment letter, that
Mhm.
might be helpful for Ryan to frame this appropriately, because maybe it's like I don't know, I haven't seen that letter, so maybe we have an obligation to report excessive absences back to the General Assembly or something.
Maybe I'll search for it.
Yeah.
You know, they come way later, like they come on in the fall. Because they hand sign them or whatever. I'll search around. I'm sure I have it somewhere.
Yeah, thank you.
The language of that feels like a middle school attendance policy too. I don't know that there's anything that we knew like three tardies equals an absence.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of feels like, you know, my boss asked me to chair a search the other day, and I was like, of course I'd be happy to. And he's like, oh, well, you don't have to be happy to. I'm just glad you said yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just feel like, I mean, did I have the opportunity to say no? You're my boss. Of course I said yes. This kind of feels like that, you know. Anyway. Okay. Okay, so 8.1, Blair made a comment about revising the statement because it was the initial bylaws adoption. Also, this one looks different. There's not 2 rows. There's an 8.1 and an 8.2, but they're all in one little chunk. That could have just been a copying thing.
Oh, there is, isn't there? Okay, that shouldn't be.
I guess I'm not seeing what the issue is. So it says they take effect when 2/3 of the body votes them until repealed or replaced. And then they may be amended. Maybe we don't need the first statement. Do we only need the second because we have bylaws now?
What are you talking about where Blair said I would revise this statement as this was the initial bylaws adoption?
Uh-huh.
I think when I don't know what he meant by that.
I didn't really either. And that's the only thing I can think is he's referring to 8.1 because it just says these take effect, blah, 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 until repealed or replaced. Well, they're already in effect. So now that they already exist, do we only need the second statement that says these bylaws may be amended? Or do you always keep both? It's been a long time since I've written bylaws, and I can't remember if they always kind of have both references.
I think that's his point. Like, because the last time we did this was the establishment of them, 8.1 needed to be stated.
Yeah.
But now that they exist, 8.1 is no longer necessary. It's only 8.2 that needs, now you're only amending them. You're not establishing them any
Right.
longer.
Mhm.
Right. I think that makes sense, and I'm totally fine with that.
I agree with Blair's statement on that.
So
So
then it
take-
will
take
just
it out
say
and make
these
2-1.
bylaws may be amended by 2/3 vote of Pepsi membership, but no amendment shall be adopted unless introduced at the most recent prior meeting of Pepsi. So we only needed one box after all, Kim. Sorry.
It's all good. It's not a big deal. He did say, I think a notice provision should be added to this one as well.
What?
For most
Like a
recent prior
notice
meeting of Pepsi, I think a notice provision should be added to this one as well. For the amendment piece. If we don't fully understand, we can also ask him to actually go in there and
Mm.
change that according to his thoughts.
I think that's got to mean because the notice provision is in what was formerly 8.2, but it wasn't in 8.1. I think his statement is if you're going to keep 8.1, which he doesn't recommend, but if you're going to keep it, it should have the notice provision in it as well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's the way I'm interpreting it, but
We can
I
ask
think
him.
it's worth clarifying with Blair.
One
Okay.
question I have, because it says the most recent prior meeting of Pepsi, does that mean that we have to bring these up and go over them at a meeting and then not vote on them until the very next meeting?
That's
That's
right.
it?
They come to you for information or discussion
Okay.
in one meeting, and then you would have action in the next proposed meeting.
And then because it's not something that's like a crisis, we don't need a called meeting. We just do the next meeting, right?
Right. Right, which would be January. Mm-hmm.
So it's like a first read of policy, and you cannot approve on first read. You have to wait until the second one.
Well, it's kind of like discussion. State board does discussion item.
Yeah.
And then the next month they do an action item of
Yeah.
the same item.
So
Okay.
that's a
Similar
great
to
point,
that.
Chris. I think this language would preclude the chair's discretion to elevate something to action on first read, which we do quite routinely. When something feels non-controversial to Pepsi members, the chair may say, okay, it sounds like we're all in agreement. Should we go ahead? Is there a motion to approve this? And she can do that. She has the authority to do that in the meeting. This would preclude that option. So like if everybody in January decided that these bylaws were perfect, you'd still need to wait till February to
Right.
vote. Which I think is fine, and I think it's good. But that's the way I'm reading.
That's the way I read it too.
And it would have to be in that scenario you just said, it would have to be February that they were voted on because it says the most recent prior meeting, right?
Yeah.
You couldn't introduce in January and vote in March. Am I reading that correctly?
You could if
Okay.
the February meeting were canceled.
Okay.
Right.
But if you held a meeting in February and you didn't address this issue, then you'd have to start the process again.
You reintroduce it in March, and
That's right.
Right. More than likely, if we didn't take action in February and they were reviewed in January, Chris, then there's probably some kind of update that needed to be provided between the 2 months. And
right.
something would still be addressed.
Yeah, it probably never will matter. It just, I guess I was asking because I wonder if the two words "most recent" need to be in there, and maybe they do.
Well, now, I think the most recent. It says the most recent prior meeting of Pepsi. So what you're articulating does create a problem insofar. Let's say we held this in January, and everybody said, "Yep, we got the discussion." And then for some reason, the chair decided at the end of January we needed to call a special meeting. My reading of this is that you would have to vote on the bylaws at that special called meeting,
Mhm.
or you'd have to restart the process.
Because
It
that
doesn't
would be,
say
yeah,
the most recent scheduled
scheduled. Yeah.
prior meeting.
Yeah.
It says any meeting.
Right.
So you are pointing out
Mhm.
a kind of a problem if this gets introduced for discussion and then for any reason there's a specially called meeting, that specially called meeting would have to include a vote on the bylaws in order to move forward.
Yeah, and I think generally most of the time bylaws updates aren't controversial, and so we could just easily just add that to the beginning. Hey, we had this going on. We got to do this first. Let's vote on this and then move on to whatever the special
Right.
topic was.
Mhm.
I think it still works.
It does require, so I think the onus is going to be on staff to to always be kind of have that in their mind. And so there's risk there that we mess up. But you know, the good news is when we mess up, we can always fix it.
Well, this is the first time we've done a bylaws revision, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we're not doing them very often.
Yeah.
That would be great.
They clearly did need to be done, but
It's so interesting because they seemed at the time that we did them, they all seemed so sensible, but now they seem nonsensical in some
Right.
ways.
I still, I mean, I tell you, I still think they were good. I mean, when I read through them, there wasn't a lot there. I'm certainly not an attorney like Blair, but they, I think they're good. So speaking of attorneys, so then the next step is going to be Blair looks at them again, and then does Ryan look at them before they go to the full commission?
That's what we would recommend. That's what happened last time.
Okay.
I think that makes good sense.
Okay, so I'll get Blair to review. I'll go in and make his, if there's anything else that we wanted changed in there, because a lot of it we changed, but wasn't there a couple things that we,
So we didn't fix all of the spacing and stuff, so that should be easy. And then there's one
yeah,
that
that's
I
not a
highlighted
big deal.
this morning and said we request that legal review this statement. I think it's in 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
and adding the duties in there, like actually adding them in there. Because I know that you had put them as a comment.
We did
Kim.
here. So here on 412. Sorry, I'm
No,
gonna-
but duties of Pepsi.
Oh yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
we need to paste that in. And I did, someone
If
can
you-
double check me, but I did put that in the comment. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right here, right? 1.2.
Yes.
Okay.
Why,
So if you look at that comment, Kim, I'm sorry, I pasted in those duties from the
Okay.
statute.
Sure.
on 414, didn't we take out working groups or task forces?
Yes, we did.
Yes, up above we did so. Or wherever. Oh, I guess it was down below where we were talking about that.
414. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm here now. So the chair may
Okay.
appoint one or more subcommittees as
Oh.
needed to assist in the execution. Yeah. There we go. And so
Okay.
now that matches.
Good catch, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah, now it matches 5, which are subcommittee duties.
And Kim, if you could let Blair know if he's on vacation, I don't want him to spend a lot of time. Like, don't worry about formatting or precision of
Sure.
language.
I'm not
when-
going to reach out to him till next week sometime.
Oh, okay. All right.
So he won't do that.
All right, folks, I've got a 9 o'clock, so I need to boot.
I think we're good. I just clicked back through and Chris found that one thing, which was great, but I don't see anything else. So I think we're good.
Awesome. We got a lot done.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good rest of the day.
You too.
You too. Bye.